Nubia is a company with a clear strategy. Get a phone with the latest Snapdragon as soon as possible, at a competitive price, and then a new one fixing everything the users didn't like, and call it the Pro version. And since we recently saw the Redmagic 7, which produced enough heat to burn your skin, let's see if they fixed that in this new version, the Redmagic 7 Pro. Welcome back, I'm Claudio, and this is Zero to Tech. I think Nubia's way of operating is very interesting. They make a phone and put it on the market for a very competitive price, and then they listen to the opinions to see what to adjust for the Pro version. And the Redmagic 7 Pro is just that. A list of the main, some complaints of the Redmagic 7, polished and with a higher price. The box is very similar to the previous one, the same size and the same type of drawings. But instead of having the matte color, like the normal one, it has a color shifting effect, trying to show it's a better product. When we open it, we can find the same as the previous one. First, a little box with the same color shifting effect, which has a pin for the SIM tray, the documents, and a TPU case. In this case, it's completely clear, which I really prefer because it hides less of the design of the phone. We will see how necessary it is, because in the Redmagic 7, if you don't put it on, you can bore yourself. Then we have the USB-C to USB-C cable, just as high quality. And it also includes a 65-watt charger, which is the charging limit in the international version, the same as the normal one. If we go to the design, this time we have the top of the line, the Supernova version, which comes with 16GB of RAM and 512 of storage. It sounds like a lot, but the top of the Redmagic 7 had 18GB of RAM. They might realize it was too much and lowered it to a more obvious amount. The storage is UFS 3.1 and gave us one of the best results with reads of more than 1000 MB per second. And, like all flagship phones, it has no place for microSD. The design for this model is quite striking. Nothing of a sober or unnoticed design. It does not deny its gamer heart. And as you can see, the surrounding part is transparent and lets you see some things. Mainly, the 20,000 RPM fan with RGB to add more frames. The rest are simple signs with some specifications. An important change is that not everything is made of glass anymore. It now includes an aluminum column to help dissipate the heat of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. This to solve the main problem of the previous version, which heated up to almost 60 degrees. Literally, temperatures that can burn your skin. Now, with this plate, the heat is distributed better and it barely reaches 43 degrees after the stress test, with better stability. The previous one had around 95%, the Pro on the other hand stays at 98%, which is almost a perfect number and means they did solve the problem. Another thing that changed was the screen. Both are 6.8 inches OLED, but the previous one had up to 160Hz and 700 nits, while the new one stays at 120 with 600 nits. But it's hard to notice the difference even when they are together. All this is related to the front camera. The previous one had two huge frames, which rather remind us of phones from 5 years ago. There are no punch holes on the screen, but the camera and the sensors are on the top of the frame, and this makes the phone huge. In fact, it didn't fit either the original Game Series 2 or the Razer Kishi. This one has the camera hidden behind the screen, a technology that has not been seen in many phones. It's only 8 megapixels, and you can see that it makes the photos and video from the camera look washed out and blurry, like a crappy laptop camera. But in return, the phone is smaller and manages to fit in the two controllers we mentioned. That was one of my main complaints. I want a screen without punch holes, but I also don't want a phone to be that big. And since I don't care about the front camera, it's a good sacrifice. The back cameras are identical to the previous one. The main wide with a 64 megapixel sensor, an ultra wide with 8 megapixels, and a macro one with 2 megapixels. They have good performance with a lot of light, but having smaller lenses, they suffer in dark conditions. And they have a night mode that works better than you expect. It has a lot of video modes, including HDR, but it is still the weakest point of the phone compared to the competition. It also has stereo speakers, but the Pro version adds an extra hole in the top of the frame, which makes the stereo sound completely even. instead of one side being less loud than the other. They are good speakers, with a lot of volume and balanced sound, nothing to complain about. It includes a headphone jack, which is great because I always lose my Bluetooth earpieces. The phone has 3 microphones, with the idea of improving your audio if you're in a voice chat while gaming. The fingerprint sensor is very good. It's under the screen, and it's fast and works perfectly every time. The power and volume buttons are now in the same side and in a more central position, but still get in the way if you use a phone clip. It includes the same touch triggers as the regular version, but the maximum read rate also goes up to 960 Hz, from the already excessive 720 of the normal version. It also includes the switch to activate the console mode. The port is USB-C 3.1 and it has the option for HDMI out, which is rare on phones at this price point. And I really don't understand why they don't all include this. It is the best way to turn your phone into a Switch, with the option to play on the big screen. Hopefully, Xiaomi and Oppo starts to put it on their phones. For the battery, it goes up to 5000 mAh, which is 500 more than the normal version, but it has serious problems. I left it overnight unplugged, with no SIM, no Bluetooth, only Wi-Fi, and no apps running, and it dropped almost 10% in 11 hours. It sounds like little, but for reference, the Redmagic 7 dropped 0% in the same period with the same parameters. There is some problem with the software that they have to polish, and the same happens when gaming. The 7 Pro destroys its battery at about 25% per hour. You're extracting all the performance from the Snapdragon, but it is excessive. I can assure you that there is a problem in the software. Hopefully Nubia will solve it, because in my mails with them, they never acknowledge the problem. I don't normally expect this from a new battery, so I installed AccuBattery Pro to monitor it. And after a couple of days, it says the battery only has half of its life left, as if I have been using the phone for more than a year. And check out the reviews on Reddit, because those who have really tested the phone report the same problem. The phone comes with Android 12 and a UI layer called Redmagic UI 5.0. The truth is that it does not do much. It is a very clean Android experience. It's something you can get used to, but don't expect a lot of animations or functionality like other phones. For example, in the default mode, it doesn't have the typical pull-up to show the app drawer. Instead, it throws them all in the desktop similar to the iPhone. That doesn't sound so bad until you realize you don't have a way to search for apps. At least, there is not much garbage apps. The only mentionable ones are a browser called Nextdoor, an instruction manual app, and one to use with the external Redmagic accessories. And they can all be deleted, but it does have something special. It's console mode. Basically, by activating the additional switch, the phone interface changes to a UI focused 100% on gaming. You can simply use it as a launcher, but it also gives you additional options like changing the reading rate of the screen, turning on the fan, and many more. And this extends into games, where it allows you to add a window with performance details, adjust the brightness, refresh rate, start recording, raise or lower the performance between 3 modes, useful to conserve battery, and even add plugins to improve the gaming experience. There are many options specific for games, which makes a big difference with normal phones. For everything that it lacks in the normal Android experience, it makes up in its game mode. Regarding synthetic tests, the truth is that there is not much of a difference between the two phones. In every test, Antutu, Geekbench, 3D Mark, they have a virtual tie, sometimes in favor of one, sometimes in favor of the other, and always within the margin of error. So there is no big advantage in synthetic performance between the Pro and the normal one. But an important difference is the one we mentioned before, the stability. We tested with 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme, and here the Pro cooling system leaves it at an incredible 98% against 91%. And the best thing is that its temperature doesn't rise that much either. For the games, we started by testing Call of Duty Mobile, where it automatically configured itself with the highest quality but high frame rate. Obviously, we raised the frame rate to max, but it's capped at 60. Absurd, because it could surely reach 120 FPS. I don't understand why they don't just leave it open. It is up to you if you like to play at 15 frames but with maximum quality. Of course, the Redmagic 7 Pro runs the game at 60 fixed, without any performance drop. You can even activate the additional options and will not drop a single frame. Seriously, the only thing missing is the 120 FPS mode. The next one to try was Genshin Impact, since it gives us many more options and push the phone to the limit. Here, though, it starts at medium settings and 30 frames. Like this, it runs smoothly and without straining the phone too much. It doesn't even get hot. But you can crank it up to full quality, and we only had a little slowdown during the first fight, where it went down to 50 frames. And if it wasn't for me checking the recording and watching the counter on the screen, I wouldn't have noticed. And thanks to the cooling, the performance don't go down like other phones with the same CPU. Fortnite is also one of those games that gives you more freedom with the graphics. It starts in epic mode, but limited to 30 frames. We change it to 60 and raise the 3D resolution to 100%. And the game stays always very close to 60, with no slowdown after a while. Amazing. And every test we did was in balanced mode. Rise mode was never needed. Of course, if you lower it to eco, the impact is noticeable, but your battery will last longer. In summary, just like the normal version, there is no better performance in games than the one in these two phones. It's amazing what the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 can do when it doesn't have to throttle. Yes, you need to have a fan, which sounds while you play, but it has a very soft hum that is not annoying. And if you put on your headphones, you won't ever hear it. Let's now turn to emulation, where we're going to start with the heavy hitters. Playing PlayStation 2 with A30SX2, we were able to upscale God of War 2 up to 5x, and it worked perfectly during the gameplay, but there are slowdowns during some transitions. Very little, but you can see it on the counter. If they don't bother you, you can play it with this resolution, or you can lower it to 4x for a fixed frame rate, which is already more than the resolution of the screen. But we had two incidents. The first is that, as in the Redmagic 7, in this Pro version, the screen recorder does not work with this emulator. I don't understand why, but as soon as you press record, it is slowed down to a cripple, and as soon as you stop recording, it works fine. So I had to capture all the footage using the HDMI output. I contacted Redmagic about this issue, and they say they will fix it in the next update. But I doubt it, because the 7 plane still has the same problem. The second was that while I was playing Shadow of the Colossus, connected via HDMI to the capture card, the phone suddenly rebooted, literally out of nowhere. I don't know if it was a software problem or overheating, which I doubt it, but it happened. But this never happened again in the rest of the tests. In GameCube, we start the test with Mario Sunshine as usual, and there is no limit. You can go up to 6x, which is more or less equivalent to 4K, and the game runs smoothly. Even Automodelista, which is even heavier to run than some Wii games, runs perfectly at full resolution, with no slowdowns. And since it runs so well, I left it at 6x to test Smash for the Wii, without many problems. In this case, there are slowdowns in the menus, but once the game starts, it runs as fixed 60, without any problem. This does make the phone go very hot, but hey, that's why you're buying a gamer phone, right? I also tried 3DS emulation with Citra MMJ and Super Mario 3D Land, and we can go up to 4x without many problems. I will not say it's 100% stable, but with very few slowdowns that are common in the game. Most games should run smoothly. To finish the emulation test, we tried God of War again, but this time on PPS-SPP, and it's amazing. We were able to upscale the game to 10x, which is the maximum resolution, and it's still playable. Of course, if you want to run at 60 FPS fixed, I think that the correct resolution is 8x, which is already more resolution than the phone screen, so it does not make much sense. In short, it's an emulation beast. There is nothing it cannot run. It touches the ceiling of what's available on Android. Let's hope it won't be long before we have a decent Switch and Vita emulators, because this phone could almost certainly run them. Well, to close the video, let's see the price. It starts at $799 US, almost $200 more than the vanilla version, but it improves in many areas. It feels like a more premium product, and it is still a very competitive price against flagship from other brands. But some details worry me, the most important being the battery. I'm sure it has a software problem, also the screenshot in A30SX2, and the reboot we had out of the blue, which is hopefully an sporadic event. But it is a fact. Those are details that we don't know if they will be solved with an update, because Redmagic does not usually give much follow-up to their phones. Do not forget to check the comparison we made with the S22 Ultra and the regular Redmagic 7. Also, leave a like and subscribe for more content. Remember, retro games, modern technology, zero to tech.